Hey everyone, and welcome back to Your Brain Lied. I'm so glad you're here. Today, we're going to dive into something that I think affects pretty much everyone at some point in their lives. The fear of failure. It's that little voice inside your head that whispers, or sometimes shouts, "What if you mess this up? What if you're not good enough?" And honestly, that voice can be paralyzing. But here's the thing. Your brain, in this instance, is lying to you. It's telling you a story that might not be true, and keeping you from reaching your full potential. We're going to unpack why this fear exists, how it manifests, and most importantly, how we can start to reframe our relationship with failure so that it becomes a source of growth instead of a roadblock. So, let's start with the basics. Why are we so afraid to fail? Well, from a young age, we're often taught that success is the goal, and failure is, well, the opposite. Think about school, for example. You get grades, you're compared to your classmates, and there's a very clear right and wrong answer. This creates a mindset where failure is seen as a reflection of your intelligence or worth, not just an opportunity to learn. And that's a heavy burden to carry. Our brains are also wired to avoid pain. Failure, especially in situations where we've invested a lot of time, effort, or even our identity, can feel incredibly painful. It can sting our ego, make us question our abilities, and even trigger feelings of shame or embarrassment. So naturally, our brains try to protect us from that pain by avoiding situations where failure is a possibility. It's like the brain sees failure as a hot stove. It learns to avoid it to prevent getting burned. But here's the catch. By avoiding failure, we also avoid a lot of opportunities for growth and learning. Think about it. How many times have you held yourself back from trying something new, going for a promotion, or pursuing a passion because you were afraid of not succeeding? It's a common experience. That fear can keep us stuck in our comfort zones, playing it safe, and never truly reaching our potential. Let's talk about some ways this fear can show up in our lives. It's not always as obvious as saying, "I'm afraid to fail." Sometimes it's more subtle. One common manifestation is perfectionism. This is where you set such impossibly high standards for yourself that you're constantly striving for something unattainable. The goal isn't necessarily to succeed, it's to avoid criticism or judgment. It's like building a fortress around yourself to protect against any perceived flaws or shortcomings. The problem is, no one is perfect, and trying to be is exhausting and ultimately self-defeating. Another way the fear of failure can manifest is through procrastination. You might put off starting a project or task because you're worried about not doing it well enough. This can lead to a vicious cycle of anxiety and avoidance, where the task looms larger and larger the longer you postpone it. It's like that mountain of laundry you avoid folding. It only gets bigger and more intimidating the longer you leave it. Sometimes we also see it as self-sabotage. This is where you unconsciously undermine your own efforts, almost as if you're trying to prove your fears right. You might miss deadlines, make careless mistakes, or even create conflict in your relationships. It's a strange phenomenon, but it's often rooted in the belief that you're not worthy of success or that you're destined to fail anyway. It's almost like saying, "See, I knew I couldn't do it." And then, of course, there's good old-fashioned avoidance. This is where you simply avoid any situation where you might fail. You might not apply for that job, ask someone out on a date, or start that creative project because you're afraid of the outcome. It's like staying home on a rainy day because you don't want to get wet, even though there might be something amazing waiting for you outside. Let's paint a few pictures to illustrate this. Imagine someone named Sarah. Sarah is a talented writer, and she's always dreamed of publishing a novel. She's spent years crafting stories in her head, but every time she sits down to write, she freezes. The fear of writing something bad, of not being good enough, of being rejected by publishers, overwhelms her. So she procrastinates. She cleans her apartment, she catches up on emails, she does anything but write. Years pass, and her novel remains unwritten, a constant reminder of her perceived failure. Sarah's brain is telling her that it's safer to not even try than to risk the pain of rejection. Now let's think about Michael. Michael is a mid-level manager at a company, and he has ambitions to climb the corporate ladder. When a promotion opportunity arises, he hesitates. He tells himself he's not ready, that he lacks the necessary skills, that he'll probably fail anyway. He convinces himself that it's better to stay where he is, safe and comfortable, than to risk the potential disappointment of not getting the promotion. He ends up not even applying. Michael's brain is telling him that the potential pain of not being chosen is greater than the potential reward of succeeding. One more example. Meet Emily. Emily has always wanted to learn how to play the guitar. She buys a guitar, watches a few online tutorials, and starts practicing. But she quickly becomes discouraged. She can't get the chords right, her fingers hurt, and she feels like she's making no progress. She starts to believe that she's just not musically talented, that she'll never be able to play. So she puts the guitar in a closet and forgets about it. Emily's brain is telling her that the immediate discomfort of struggling to learn is a sign that she's not cut out for it, and that it's better to quit than to continue struggling. In all these scenarios, the fear of failure is acting as a powerful deterrent, preventing these individuals from pursuing their goals and living their lives to the fullest. Their brains are lying to them, exaggerating the potential consequences of failure and minimizing the potential rewards of success. So how do we break free from this cycle? How do we reframe our relationship with failure so that it becomes a source of growth and learning, instead of a paralyzing fear? The key is to start viewing failure as feedback. Think of failure as a compass. When you try something and it doesn't work out, it's not necessarily a sign that you're not good enough. It's simply information telling you that you need to adjust your approach. It's like a GPS rerouting you when you take a wrong turn. The GPS doesn't yell at you or tell you that you're a bad driver. It simply recalculates and provides you with a new route. Failure is the same. It gives you valuable data that you can use to improve and move forward. Instead of focusing on the negative emotions associated with failure, try to analyze what went wrong. What can you learn from the experience? What would you do differently next time? This is where the real growth happens. It's like a scientist conducting an experiment. They don't see a failed experiment as a failure. They see it as a learning opportunity. They analyze the data, adjust their hypothesis, and try again. Another helpful strategy is to challenge your perfectionistic tendencies. Recognize that mistakes are inevitable and that they're a natural part of the learning process. Set realistic expectations for yourself and focus on progress, not perfection. It's like learning a new language. You're not going to be fluent overnight. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to stumble over words, but with practice and persistence, you'll gradually improve. It's also important to cultivate a growth mindset. This is the belief that your abilities and intelligence are not fixed traits but can be developed through effort, learning, and perseverance. People with a growth mindset embrace challenges, see effort as a path to mastery, and learn from criticism. They don't see failure as a reflection of their worth, but as an opportunity to grow and improve. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Your brain works the same way. The more you challenge yourself, the more resilient and adaptable you become. Let's revisit Sarah, Michael, and Emily and see how they might approach their fears differently with this new perspective. Instead of letting her fear paralyze her, Sarah could start by setting small, achievable goals. Maybe she commits to writing for just 30 minutes a day, without worrying about the quality of her writing. She could also join a writing group to get feedback and support from other writers. When she receives criticism, she can try to see it as constructive advice, not as a personal attack. She reframes the idea of failure as simply not being finished yet. Michael, instead of avoiding the promotion opportunity, could view it as a chance to learn and grow. He could identify the skills he needs to develop and seek out training or mentorship. He could also remind himself that even if he doesn't get the promotion, he'll have gained valuable experience and made connections that will benefit him in the long run. Even the act of applying and interviewing is a win, regardless of the outcome. And Emily, instead of giving up on the guitar, could break down her learning process into smaller, more manageable steps. She could focus on mastering one chord at a time and celebrate her progress along the way. She could also find a guitar teacher or join a beginner's guitar group to get guidance and support. She learns that everyone starts somewhere and that the journey is just as important as the destination. By reframing failure as feedback, these individuals can transform their fear into motivation and use their experiences to propel themselves forward. Ultimately, overcoming the fear of failure is about changing your relationship with uncertainty and embracing the idea that setbacks are a natural part of life. It's about recognizing that your worth is not defined by your successes or failures, but by your willingness to learn, grow, and keep trying. It's about understanding that your brain might be lying to you, exaggerating the risks, and minimizing the rewards. It's like learning to ride a bike. You're gonna fall down a few times, but eventually you'll get the hang of it. And once you do, you'll be able to ride anywhere. So, what are some practical takeaways you can start using today? First, identify one area in your life where the fear of failure is holding you back. It could be a career goal, a personal project, or even a relationship. Next, challenge your negative thoughts about failure. Ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen if I fail? Is that really so bad? What could I learn from the experience? Finally, take small, manageable steps toward your goal. Focus on progress, not perfection. Celebrate your successes and learn from your setbacks. Remember, every step you take, no matter how small, is a step in the right direction. Here are a few questions to reflect on this week. 1. What's one thing you've been avoiding because of the fear of failure? How can you reframe that situation as a learning opportunity instead of a potential disaster? 3. What's the smallest possible step you can take towards that goal this week? That's it for today's episode of Your Brain Lied. I hope this conversation has given you some food for thought and some practical tools to help you overcome your fear of failure. Remember, you are capable of more than you think. Don't let your brain lie to you. Embrace the journey, learn from your mistakes, and keep moving forward. I'll catch you next time. Subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.